Oh God, come on. I guess we're gonna edit that out. Hey there, cool people. I'm Wade. Thanks for watching Nordbytes. In this video, I'm going to go over one of my favorite builds. It's not meta or meant for vet hard mode trials, but it does get the job done in all other content. You'll have no issues with quests, of course, because you can just punch your way through most of those. Dungeons are no problem, and it's viable for vet hard mode DLC dungeons even. You can absolutely do normal trials, but the only thing I would be hesitant on is vet and vet hard mode trials, because if you do, I'm sure there would be a few people that would take some issue with it, since it's a very unique build, not meant to max out your DPS. It's a great magical sustain build with excellent survivability, and it just hits hard. But my favorite part is that it incorporates 4 different types of damage. They're flame, shock, frost, and damage poison. They're all going to be inflicted on the bad guys. Now I would recommend this for a magicka build because one of the sets that we're using restores magicka to help you sustain, so you'd really just be wasting that if you're using a stamina build. Alright, so let's go ahead and this is Ivius Malice. She's a high elf, which is nice for magicka, and you'd think she'd be some snooty Altmer, but she took a different path. She felt more primal and went the witchcraft route, which is where she learned to use all her elements. And but you can use any race. I mean, this is ESO. You can mix and match just about anything. But I'd say your best bets are going to be Breton, High Elf, Dark Elf, Khajiit, and even the Argonian isn't bad. And as usual, any class works. Ivius here, she's a Warden, and sometimes I'll even just use a Frost Staff just to take advantage of her Warden passives. Alright, first, let's talk attributes. Put them all in magicka. That's it. Moving on, let's go into potions. For almost all my magicka builds, I use Witch Mother's Potent Brew. Of course, if you want to go the cheaper route, you can go Ghastly Eyeball. Or if you want the cream of the crop, there's Clockwork Citrus Fillet. Normally, because it's so expensive, I just use that for running trials. Now, for potions, ideally, you'd probably want to use Essence of Spell Power, but for almost all my magicka builds, I just use Essence of Magicka and Essence of Potent Magicka, just because it's so easy to get in dungeons and overland content. But now let's get to the goodies, your weapons, armor, and jewelry. Now this build will start out with Overwhelming Surge. That's where she's going to get her magicka stain. You get your magicka weapon and spell damage, a couple bonuses with that, but when you have 5 pieces, when you deal damage with a class ability, you surround yourself with a torrent that deals 468 shock damage to the enemies within 8 meters of you every 1 second for 6 seconds. 15% of the damage you deal this way is restored to you as magicka. This effect can occur once every 7 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Here's where you're going to get your magicka sustain. And I love this set. Actually, Overwhelming Surge is the set one of the sets that I wore when I first completed Vatashran Halls. Very powerful and I think very underrated magicka set. Now, and this is also where you're going to get your shock damage from. Now, Overwhelming Surge you can find in Tempest Island, the dungeon, just a base game dungeon. It's really easy to farm. It's a very simple set. Now, our other set is going to be Defiler, and you can get that in Vardenfell. It's just an overland set. It's fairly easy to farm. One of the nice parts is that you can get it in a guild trader, and it's not even that expensive. Now this one will give you weapon and spell damage. It also gives you bonuses, a couple on crit chance. And when you deal critical damage, you summon a hunger that spews poison to all enemies in front of it, dealing poison damage and stunning any enemy it hits for 5 seconds. This effect can occur once every 5 seconds and scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. And now this is another powerful and I think underrated set. And this is where you're going to get your poison damage. And plus, the hunger that comes out just looks freaking cool. And our final set will be the Ice Heart Monster set, which is going to add critical chance. And also, when you deal critical damage, you have a 20% chance to gain a damage shield that absorbs damage for 6 seconds. While the damage shield holds, you'll deal frost damage to all enemies within 5 meters of you every 1 second. This effect can occur once every 6 seconds, and the damage scales off the higher of your weapon or spell damage. Now, Ice Art, here's where you're going to get your frost damage. With a Warden, I know they have a lot of frost abilities, but if you're using like a Night Blade, this is where your frost damage is going to come from. Or you could just give your Inferno Staff a frost enchant. With this build, if you ever want to do an XP grind, you can clear out Skyreach easily. And this build is also capable of taking on some of the tougher world bosses by yourself. This is one of my favorite builds, just because it's something different from Sororia or Mother Sorrow or Order's Wrath. And I think the best part is that it uses every single element, in addition to poison. How cool is that? Now, I've mentioned to you that my characters, what I do is I'll have them all DPS, but then I have them to where they can switch to a healer or a tank. And Ivius here, she switches to a healer. And basically, it's just because I like variety. And also, I don't like waiting an hour to get into a particular dungeon. Let me show you. We'll go over here to the armory station. We'll save her questing build. This is her DPS outfit. And then we will load her healing. I'm just going to show you the setup I have for her just because I think it's cool. It's very unique also. And again, this is not going to be something you're going to want to run trials. Well, vet trials, especially, you could probably get away with it with most normal trials. But here, she's in her healing outfit. But you see what I did here is she has Ebon jewelry and weapons, part of the Ebon armory set that you get in Crypt of Hearts, which gives your group extra health. And then also she has Worm's raiment set, which you get in Vaults of Madness, and so that's to help your group's magic recovery. And I just thought it was cool because of all the orbs that fly around. She's got a bazillion orbs, and they're red and blue, and sometimes they'll actually combine together all in one and kind of just flash red and blue. So anyway, I thought that was kind of cool, and this is why this is one of my favorite characters, because she's just outside the box. Okay, well, with all that being said, I want to thank you so much for watching, and please do subscribe. The channel is growing so much faster than I expected it to be, and thank you all so much for that. And don't forget that once I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to be giving away the free classic home that is furnished to one subscriber. I'm going to have a drawing for it, and as you can see, here are the classic homes. There's 26 total, and you get to choose whichever one you want. So good luck, and please subscribe so you'll have a chance at that. And until then, stay cool, people.